Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Hello, American families. Welcome to this week's episode of the Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And if you love your family, care about them deeply, and want to learn how to protect them in every facet of your life, then you've come to the right place. Folks, we got a great show for you today. Today, we are going to have Mark Walters from Armed American Radio. He's on like 20 gazillion stations nationwide, all across the country. Just a fantastic guy, good friend of mine, one of my White Feather Press authors. Awesome armed radio host. Today, Mark and I will be discussing grilling while armed. You heard that right. Barbecue grilling. What gun should you wear while you're grilling? Does it depend on whether you're using charcoal or gas, or does it matter what you're cooking? Pork? Beef? Chicken? Well, Mark Walters is going to be here with us in segments 2 and 3, and he will show us the way. All right. Folks, it's been a busy week for me, but it seems like in the summer, for everyone else, their lives slow down and mine speeds up. I had breakfast this morning with an old friend, and when I say old friend, I mean my age. We've been friends since, first grade. He was a year behind me, and now he's the athletic director of our local high school here. But, about once a year, maybe twice a year, we'll get together and we'll have breakfast or lunch or something. And isn't it funny how someone that you've known since you were a kid, you get together with them maybe once a year or so, or maybe even after 10 years. You haven't seen them. You sit down with them and you start talking, and it's like time did not go by. It's like you just met them yesterday, and you start talking about old times, and I love that. I love having friends today at age 60 that I had when I was 7 years old. There's something special about that. The world today moves at such lightning speed, and people move all over the country, all over the world. They never stay in one spot. That's why I like my little tiny hometown. Remember that sitcom, Cheers? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Now, granted, sometimes I want to go where nobody knows my name, but when I want to be left alone. But, it is refreshing to go back home and see old friends and just talk. And it was just awesome. Had a good time at the local diner. I was going to have my daughter Amethyst on the show today, but Amethyst is at a homeschooling meet and greet. You didn't know those existed, but they do. Whenever my wife and kids leave me, I always walk them out to the car. I help Sarah get everybody buckled in, and they roll down the windows, and I stand at the end of the driveway, and they wave and yell and blow me kisses and drive away. As they drive away, they're waving, yelling, "I love you," and I will just stand there at the end of the driveway waving till they get to the stop sign about 150 yards down the street. And this morning I see Phoenix, my 8-year-old. He's still waving. He's waving all the way past the stop sign, around the corner, until he's totally out of sight. Folks, to me, that is so special. That's what having a family is all about. Caring about someone that much, where you just want to wait at the end of the driveway and watch until you can't see him anymore. That reminds me of the final scene in Return of the King, the Lord of the Rings series by Tolkien, where Samwise Gamgee is waiting there at the end of the dock, and he's watching Frodo Baggins and Gandalf and the other elves sail off into the sunset, and they're playing that beautiful music, and it's so sad. But that's what it reminds me of. When my family leaves the house, it's a sad occasion. And I told my wife that this morning. Honey, I don't want you to leave this morning. Well, we have to go do this homeschool meet and greet. And I knew that. And I had to be out here working in the studio anyways, so that's a bit mushy. Sorry for imposing that on you. But hey, this is my show. I talk about what I want to talk about, and that is what is on my mind today. We have got some good news items today. Today I want to talk about Chicago and London, a tale of two cities, as Dickens would say. First, let's go to London. This was sent to me by one of our listeners, Bob. Bob, thank you for sending this. It's from the Mirror UK, titled 100th London Murder Investigation Launched as Capital Set for Record Number of Killings After Pensioner Found Dead. And they have a full list of these 100 people who have been murdered here. The 100th murder investigation in 2018 has been launched in London as the body of a 73-year-old pensioner was found in a blazing house. I don't even know what a pensioner is, but I'm guessing he works in an office. Police say 73-year-old Carol Harrison's body was discovered in her house in leafy Teddington, southwest London, following a blaze in the early hours of Wednesday. You know, I would refuse to live in a place called Teddington, just because that just sounds like, it's just too wussy. I'm sorry. I'd rather live in, like, John Wayneville or something. Scotland Yard say she had suffered injuries consistent with an assault. The death marks the 100th murder investigation in London this year. The year got off to a bloody start with 3 young men all stabbed to death on New Year's Eve in unrelated incidents. While the investigations into the motives behind deaths vary wildly, from social media disputes to domestic incidents to seemingly random attacks, a consistent theme from month to month is the use of knives as a lethal weapon. In 2017, there was a total of 116 murders in the capital, with this year appearing set to mark a rise in the number of offenses. During February, when there was 15, and March, 19, there was a higher murder rate in London than in New York. Although 100 murder investigations have been launched, in 9 of those cases the accused has subsequently been charged with manslaughter, or a post-mortem has altered the cause of death. The other 91 are being treated as murder. These are their stories. And they've got all 100 here. I was reading through these, and I saw there were some real patterns here. Okay, number 1, December 31st, 2017, New Year's Eve. Kyle Parnell stabbed to death. Stab wound to the heart. Okay, and then Steve Frank, Narvez Jara, stabbed to death near Old Street Station, 20 years old, from Ecuador. Number 3, Tafiq Lamidi, stabbed to death in West Ham, East London. Stabbed to the heart. Elizabeth Lakutsu, stabbed to death in Ilford, East London. A Romanian international. Vijay Kumar Patel, fatal blow to the head in Mill Hill. Okay, so we finally got something. The first 4 were knife attacks, then we got blunt force trauma. Daniel Frederick, stabbed to death in Stoke Newington. They have pictures here. Almost I would say 80% of these people, they're black. Harry Uzaka, 25, stabbed to death in Shepherd's Bush. Saeed Khan, oh, he was not stabbed to death. He was hacked to death with an axe. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. This guy, he killed Mr. Khan and then took him to the cemetery and dropped the body off. How thoughtful. Number 9 was Yaye Mibai, stabbed to death in Stoke Newington, West London. Juan Olmo Saka, age 39, stabbed in the chest in Peckham, southeast London. And it just goes on and on. And I look at these: stabbed to death, stabbed to death, stabbed to death, stabbed to death, stabbed in the chest. Here's one. You have to go to the 17th homicide before you get a firearms death. Shot dead in February 12th. They went a month and a half before somebody got shot. Prior to that, they had, 14 stabbings, a hacking, and a blunt force trauma. Isn't that amazing? 80% of them are black. I don't know if that means anything, but it looks like a lot of them have some type of Middle Eastern name to them. Muhammad or Kabbalah, or a lot of people in London apparently are immigrants. I don't know if that means anything, but that's what I'm reading. Let's go to Chicago, the good old U.S. of A. In Chicago, 344 people have been killed this year. That is 111 fewer than 2017. Well, that's precious. Crime is going down in Chicago, and it's going up in London. Eventually, they'll meet in the middle, I'm sure. All right. Causes of death. The majority of Chicago homicides are the result of gun violence. So in London, it's knife violence or bladed violence, and in Chicago, it is gun violence. And the number is much higher in Chicago. So apparently, guns are a much more effective killing tool than knives. I think we all knew that. But I looked through all of this. There were 479 shootings, 21 stabbings, 11 assaults, 10 others, 38 unknown. I don't know. How can you not know? It says, though there are homicides recorded throughout the city, they are most concentrated in the south and west sides. When I read through all of this data here, I get a pattern, and you kind of get a picture here. Okay, the majority of victims of homicide in Chicago are young black men. Looks like 411 black men, 59 not known, 50 Hispanic, 44 white, 1 black Hispanic, 1 Asian. Yeah, so pretty safe for Asians, I guess, in Chicago. But they have the individual stories of all of these victims. And I started reading through some of these stories. Obviously, we can't read through them all on the air here. But the pattern was most of them were black. Most of them were young people, as in teenagers and early 20s. And most of them appeared to be gang-related. So it's not necessarily a gun problem. It's not really a violence problem. This is a young people problem. This is a gang problem. And it appeared to be the same way in London. We're losing the generation here, folks. The millennials do not work and play well together. They seem to be killing each other, and anyone else who happens to get in the way. All right, well, sorry to start out on a negative note there, folks, but that's the way it is in the world today. In London, they kill each other with knives, and in Chicago, they kill each other with guns. Either way, dead is dead. All right, well, we are out of time for this segment of the Home Defense Show. When we come back, In 2 minutes, we will be speaking with Mark Walters from Armed American Radio, all about grilling while armed. While we're away, go ahead and check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical, and then check out elitefirearms.us and talk to Larry Jackson about buying the right firearm for you. Okay, this is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
My name is CJ Coryell. Welcome to the Home Defense Show with my dad, Skip Coryell. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us.
This is Colonel Denny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coryell, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. Boy, today we are speaking with none other than Mark Walters, the host of Armed American Radio. Mark, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
Oh, thanks, Skip. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, Mark, it's certainly an honor. You're on 25 gazillion stations nationwide, and here I am with my teeny tiny little podcast that I do in my garage next to the chicken coop. So I'm
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
Hey, I'm surprised you'd even answer the phone for me. So that's just great, Mark. Mark, I know, I've known you for years, but you've always been interested in grilling.
Oh, yeah.
It's like whenever you'll send me like a text message with a picture of something on a grill, and it always looks fantastic. I'm sure it tastes great. I've never had it, and I know you did a special with George Hill, the AKA the Mad Ogre,
right,
on grilling while armed. And, I thought that would be really neat if we could do something like that for our listeners here. So today, Mark, I want to talk about barbecuing, grilling, whatever you call it. Can you start us out, Mark, by pretend like I'm just some Fuddrucker from under the bridge who doesn't know anything. What exactly is grilling, barbecuing? What's it all about?
Well, you said grilling and you said barbecuing. First, let me say thanks for having me. It's not 200 gazillion stations. It's 220, I think, now. But, well, I'd love to be on 220. I'd love to be on gazillions. Wouldn't that be great, right?
Oh, yeah.
But 220, growing like a weed. So thank you. But, yeah, you're right. We did a grilling while armed segment. I love to barbecue, and I love to grill. There's a difference between the two. I'll go into that in a second. And we were doing the round table. We had George, had George the Mad Ogre Hill on. And George, of course, has always been for many years my resident firearm expert. And I used to play games with him, Stump the Ogre. I would hit him with some type of firearm out of the blue, and I couldn't stump him. He knew everything about every gun we ever talked about. And I got to the point where I said, you know what, I'm just going to quit playing this game because I don't like losing on my own show. So I gave it up. But during one of those conversations, I gave out a barbecue recipe. Mm-hmm. And George was on, and it was either himself. I said, George, why don't you pair that up with a great firearm to wear on your hip while you're grilling or barbecuing that recipe? And he goes, oh, my, that's a great idea. I love it. What prompted it was, what better Americana than wood fire grilling and guns? I mean, this is an American. The only thing you can add to that is apple pie. And if you wanted to add to that, would be Grandma's apple pie. And if you wanted to add to that, it would be Grandma carrying a firearm while she was baking that apple pie.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's nothing more American than any of this, right? They seem to go together. It dawned on me that virtually everybody I know who carries a gun also loves to barbecue and loves to grill. So this was a match made in heaven, and I said, wow, that's great. It came out on the air that day. Excuse me, we called. I said, man, we're grilling while armed today with George the Mad Ogre Hill. We laughed about it, and it kind of took on a life of its own. George and I are still in the process of working on a cookbook. We already have about 17 recipes in there, but there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just as simple as deciding to write a book. There's a lot that goes into a cookbook. So, we've been kind of sitting on that on hold, but it turned into a Facebook page, Grilling While Armed, and even with no attention paid to it in the last couple of years, it's still got about 3,500 fans. So, this is something that people took, and I started getting photographs from listeners all over the country, sending me pictures from the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska, a guy smoking salmon on his smoker with his 6-gun on his hip, and his wife took the picture. I'm getting pictures of people from all over the country in similar settings, guys with their Weber Smoky Mountain bullets and their firearms sitting on the grate with the charcoal bag and everything else, and they're all telling me, hey, when I grill, and this is what I carry when I do it. But certain types of foods, we found out, pair up better with certain types of firearms. So we started having fun with that and got really serious. But that's how it started. And now I'll go into answering your question, the difference between grilling and barbecuing. Basically, grilling is searing over high heat, directly over the coals, like you would grill a steak. Mm-hmm. Barbecue is indirect, slow cooking over indirect heat, where you've got a firebox over to the side. You've seen the smokestack cookers, you Smoky Joe's at Home Depot, and you see the offset firebox cookers. And there's every level of dirt cheap ones of those, all the way up to like the one I have, which is a Lang barbecue smoker, which is the absolute Lamborghini. I think it's about $3,500, big reverse flow, 1/4-inch solid steel on wheels. I mean, this thing is a tank. It weighs over 1,000 pounds, and it's great. It looks like a train engine, so it's quite cool. So if you want to see pictures of it, you can see it at Grilling While Armed. But that's the difference: cooking over high heat, direct heat, and cooking over indirect heat. If you're doing it on a grill, coals over to one side, food over to the other side, or the cool side. And if you're doing it in a cooker, of course, you've got a firebox over to the side and a cooking chamber, and you're regulating the temperature. Barbecuing is generally done around 225 to 275 in that range.
So when you're grilling these different ways, let's say you've got a real expensive grill like you were talking about, 1,000-pound grill, maybe costs multiple thousands of dollars. So would you have to carry like a Kimber when you're grilling with that, or could you go with?
It depends. That's a great question. The grill itself demands excellence on the hip.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's I call it a Lamborghini. So yes, a Kimber would pair great, but we don't do that with the cooker. We actually pair the firearm with the food, and everybody's got a different idea. This is what makes Grilling While Armed so much fun. Just like everybody's got a favorite carry gun and a favorite carry rig, everybody's got their own opinion of what pairs up really well with, if say you're making Southern style Eastern Carolina pork barbecue and you're smoking up some butts, what goes better with that? Everybody's got their own opinion of what would go better with that. That's an old classic. That's a Southern staple. To me, any type of wheel gun goes wonderful. You can take your pick of wheel gun. My Smith & Wesson 686 Plus goes great with any type of classic that I'm cooking, like a Texas brisket or some pork butts for some Southern style barbecue, some pulled pork. Those wheel guns go great because they're classics, just like those dishes are.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What this reminds me of, Mark, have you ever seen that movie City Slickers?
Oh, it's been a long time, but yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, they have that one scene where these two ice cream moguls are talking about, picking the right flavor of ice cream for any dish imaginable. And they have that little, I mean, it's just funny as a rubber crutch, but it kind of reminds me of that. Is it all subjective? Is this just from the gut, or is there some algorithm that you follow, some kind of unwritten rules?
Good question. No, it's all from the gut. It is subjective. Like I said, everybody has their own idea. and we of course we have fun with this. Okay, it's great to sit and hear the ogre pair up a great sidearm with whatever dish or whatever recipe I give out, and of course that's subjective. Some people might say, well, to me, my first carry gun was a Glock, so maybe somebody a little bit younger than me might say, wow, that Glock, my Glock 26, that's my classic gun. That's what I've carried my whole life. That was the first gun I began carrying when I barbecue burgers, which is a classic, of course. When I'm smoking burgers or grilling, there's a difference between the two. But if I'm doing burgers, to me, that's a classic. So yeah, it's all subjective. Have fun with it. You can't go wrong with it, and it certainly opens up a conversation to what someone else might carry while they're doing it. Keep in mind, it's all in fun. Plus, it drives the liberals batty. And when you're driving the liberals batty, when you're barbecuing in your front yard with your gun exposed, letting them all see it, it's wonderful. Because none of them, they're so hypocritical, they'll still eat your food if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. Well, now, that raises the question, Mark. We've been talking about, wheel guns. We've been talking about, semi-automatic pistols, Kimbers. Is there ever an occasion to grill with a long gun?
I have had people send me, because what's a classic is somebody else's. It's subjective. What's the classic modern sporting rifle? Of course, that would be an AR-15.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen people lean the AR-15 up against one of their tables while they're cooking or grilling while armed, or barbecuing while armed. We incorporate, just for the listener, we say grilling while armed. We also we use that interchangeably with barbecuing. We say that we incorporate that word to mean both. The reason we do is because it just doesn't sound right saying barbecuing while armed. Sounds better grilling while armed, so we've incorporated both. We get to do that because we're making it all up, so we can make it up any way we want.
That's right.
But yeah, there absolutely is. And I would suggest if you're doing wild game, the long gun's great. Now, what's better than a Winchester? Okay, a Winchester Model 94. Right? The classic lever action, maybe you killed a deer with it. Now, of course, you're going to grill while armed with that long gun up again. Oh, absolutely. There's always a place in the time for a classic long gun, sure.
Well, I like those Henry lever actions. They just look so cool. The problem with those Henrys is that if I ever did buy one, I would never shoot it because it's just so pretty, and I want to keep it that way. Is that bizarre? Or?
Well, grill with it. Put it up next to the grill.
Okay.
Right? That's the gun you can load on Sunday and shoot all week. I forget who the general was in the Civil War that said that. You could load it on a Sunday and shoot all week. It was a Confederate general because they were getting shot up by that Henry.
Yeah, well, Mark, if I did that, then my rifle would cost more than my grill. But I guess that's okay.
There's something to be said for that too, right?
Well, all right. My next question is, I don't want you to judge me, okay? I mean, you know me personally.
Never would.
You know I'm a good guy, okay? But I've been grilling with gas.
Do not tell me. I was going to say, don't tell me you use a gas grill. Skip, I'm judging you. I'm sorry. I can't judge you. Here's the deal. You are an outdoorsman. You're an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah.
For you, listener, the benefit of the listener now, I can't tell you how many times I've called Skip during hunting season, and I've heard, hey, Mark, how you doing? I'm in a tree right now. All right? Yeah. Nobody that sits in a tree should be using a gas grill. Now, I'm just going to go on record and say that. Can I make a suggestion for you?
Yeah.
2 types of grills that you need. 1, a classic Weber kettle. That's all you need. You can buy one for $149 at Home Depot. A classic 21-inch or 31-inch. It goes up to 21 or 30. And I happen to have the gigantic Weber King Ranch kettle, which you have to go online and order it, or if you're lucky enough, my Home Depot actually had one. It's a $1,300 Weber kettle.
I'm not surprised at all.
5 square inches of cooking space. Yeah, you have to have that. In fact, I got it for myself on my wife's birthday. That made her really pleased. I can promise you that. I said, look what you got me for your birthday. But I digress. A classic Weber kettle is all you need for all of your cooking needs. Now, for your smoking needs, a Weber Smoky Mountain, the cooker, the bullet cooker. If you can buy those 2, and all of your cooking needs are done. And here's the deal. People say to me all the time, I love charcoal. I just don't have enough time. I don't have the time. And here's what I say to them. You mean to tell me that you don't have 17 minutes to light the charcoal in a chimney? My response to that is, dude, you're way too important for me. I don't want to be your friend anymore. Now, I'm not going to tell you that because I'm going to tell you you were honest about it.
Yeah.
But people have this misconception that, well, I got a little Southern friend right down the road. He's from L.A. Around these parts, that's called Lower Alabama.
Yeah.
And he says, Mark, man, sometimes I just want to throw a dog or a burger on, quick. I said, yeah, you don't have 17 minutes. You want to turn the gas. I couldn't even tell you how to turn a gas stove on.
Yeah.
A gas. To me, that's that's a kitchen outside.
Yeah.
When you're outdoors, it's primal. It's a primal urge. You want to get the coals and the wood going. Now, I don't just use Kingsford. I use stubs. I use Kingsford. I use some lump, and I use chunks of wood. So I've got a mixture in there. Even when I do regular hand-patted burgers and hot dogs, it's an art form, and I love it. So I'm just telling you that. I'm not judging you, but anything I tell you that when I'm funning with you, but any recipe I give you on this show, you can still do on a gas grill. I just would hope you wouldn't, because it will not be the same flavor. That much I can promise.
Mark, I guess I've heard that the first step in solving a problem is admitting that you have one, and so
correct.
Yeah.
You have a gas problem.
I have a gas problem. Exactly.
Admit you have a gas problem, and now you can move on to wood and fire and coals, and that's the primal instinct.
Well, is there like a 12-step program designed for me where I could get weaned off this gas?
No, Home Depot. In the modern age, they've eliminated. Just go to Home Depot and buy a Weber, a classic Weber kettle. You can cook just about anything on it. Any recipe I give you that you can put in a smoker, you can also do on a Weber kettle.
Yeah, well, I just feel like I should say, hello, my name is Skip Coryell, and I cook with gas.
Coryell, welcome, Skip. Well, I cook with gas. Welcome, Skip. We'll fix your problem.
All right. Well, I wrote down the classic Weber kettle and the Weber Smoky Mountain. So I will rectify the problem. That will make my son very happy. He lives down in St. Louis. He's an avid griller, barbecuer like you are. Mm-hmm. He's got all these fancy things. He's even got like computers hooked up to his grill and stuff, which just blows me away. But
sure, he's temperature checking.
Yeah. He gets it off his cell phone and stuff. And I'm not quite that sophisticated, but I will get one of these grills and we'll get started. Mark, we're out of time here on this segment of the Home Defense Show, but what I'd like to do when we come back, I'd like to transition into maybe some political stuff, because I know you are the man for this stuff, and I know you're going to be up on it. So I'd like to talk about maybe the Brett Cavanaugh nomination and get your take on that.
Yeah.
But, okay, folks, we got a 2-minute break here. I want you to go on out and check out armedamericanradio.com and read all about Mark Walters, radio announcer par excellence. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
This is Felix Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Always use guns safely and wisely. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, folks. I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coryell.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if life was like the movies and the good guys always won? In today's world, if you're forced to use your firearm to protect yourself, you will need protection. Firearms Legal Protection is here for you. FLP provides you with seasoned, experienced attorneys that handle your criminal and civil matters as a result of you protecting yourself. FirearmsLegal.com provides its members with uncapped attorney's fees, bail bond protection, and coverage in all 50 states. We are not a reimbursement plan. You can access uncapped attorney's fees for as low as $10 a month. Firearms Legal members are provided with educational services, training videos, and access to our vast national attorney network. While you're protecting yourself, let Firearms Legal protect you.
Listen up, folks. This is important. There are plenty of legal protection services out there, but none will protect you as well as Firearms Legal Protection. This is the one I use and the only one I recommend. Visit firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical and protect your family now. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. We are speaking with Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio. We've been talking all about grilling and barbecuing, grilling while armed, and it's been a good time. But, Mark, I'd like to, segue now into some political stuff simply because, you're a great griller, you're a great barbecuer, but this is what you do best. And so I'd like to talk about some political stuff. Brett Cavanaugh, what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, this is why we elected Trump. Mm-hmm. Kavanaugh is a prime example of why Trump was elected, and a prime example of why elections matter and why elections have consequences. I want you to think for a second. I know it's tough to do this, but I'm continually reminding people. Imagine if Hillary Clinton were president of the United States today.
Yeah.
Who would we have nominated by now? Now, and I'll tell you what else, too. Ginsburg would have also retired if Hillary Clinton were president. Now, that would have just been replacing a bad apple with a bad apple. But in this particular case, we're able to solidify a 5-4 majority with Kavanaugh. So, again, this is why Donald Trump was elected. This is why we went to the polls in droves and put him in office. And it's also why the left is so unhinged right now that they're very close to causing very serious problems in this country because they are so unhinged. We can go there in a minute. But Kavanaugh, is he going to be confirmed? Yeah, my gut feeling tells me he's going to be confirmed. But I have a request for listeners, and that is get your head out of the media. Turn off Fox News, turn off all of it. Get your face out of it. The polls that they're coming out with every single day mean nothing. What matters is the vote in the Senate. And these media organizations, remember, they have 24 hours to fill, and they're filling it with crap all day long because 24 hours is a long time. Every single time you see a story, it changes every single day. This is not news as you knew when you were growing up. This is nothing but opinion. That's all it is. Masquerading as news with very polished television, anchors and everything else, making way too much money. When the salary of the news anchor becomes the story, there is no more news. This is all about them, and there's no longer any objectivity.
Yeah.
So I say that as a forewarning. He will be confirmed. But the Democrats are going to continue to try to push the narrative. They're going to do everything in their power to utterly destroy this man and his family. They don't care. To the Democrat right now, the socialists, and I call them socialists because that's what they are, wear it, own what they are. The Socialist Party in this country is so unhinged right now that they will destroy a good man who, by the way, they voted unanimously before to put him on court in the first place. They're now going to go after him, and they're going to destroy him. Chuck Schumer is the one person you need to watch as the Senate minority leader. Watch the tactics that he's using. He will stall as far as he can. But here's the deal. They don't have the votes to do it. In October, Mitch McConnell's going to throw a vote out. You got to watch Maine. You're going to have to watch Alaska, the two Republicans. But in the end, they will come on board and they will vote. Kavanaugh will be confirmed. That's my prediction.
Well, and Mark, I put a lot of stock in your predictions because you predicted that Trump was going to be elected when no one else that I knew was doing that. By the
exact electoral count too. But that's true. Yeah, that was on Tuesday of the election. I left with my listeners. I said, we will see you tomorrow. Prediction: Trump plus 300 electoral votes. It's going to surprise a lot of people. Of course, he won with 360 electoral votes. So, it's not really that hard. Could the nomination be derailed? Yes. Are the Democrats going to try? Yes. Are their friends in the media machine, which is nothing but a left-wing propaganda wing for the Socialist Party, are they going to try? Yes, they're all going to try. Remember, though, these are the same pollsters and hucksters and shysters and media. I can't even call them what I want to call them. I wouldn't even do it on a podcast. It's just not right. But suffice to say, these are the same people that told you Donald Trump didn't stand a chance, that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. Okay? These people, all they're doing is pushing an agenda in an attempt to sway somebody. Yeah. It is disgraceful what has happened to the media in this country. It is utterly disgraceful what's happened. So that's again, we could have a conversation. How many hours do we have? But I believe in the end that you're going to see Kavanaugh. Here's why they're going crazy over this. Does it change the makeup of the court because it's Kennedy? Yes, it does. It solidifies. It's like putting another Scalia in place of Kennedy. Imagine if we had Scalia and Scalia. Mm-hmm. That swing vote we would know where that swing is going to go. We know where Gorsuch is going to go. We believe we know because he is an originalist. He interprets the Constitution as it was written and the way it was meant to be interpreted at the time it was written, which is what Scalia did. He was absolutely, utterly brilliant. Don't believe me? Read some of his decisions. Now with Kavanaugh, we have the exact same philosophy. We have the same constitutional and judicial philosophy, and that is put aside personal beliefs, rule based on what the Constitution says and what it meant and the way it was, and that's the way the Constitution is supposed to be interpreted. Not some leftist agenda who swing whatever way they want to go with whatever decision they want, with whatever the political winds are blowing that day, and try to weave the Constitution in and around their own beliefs. All right? Mm-hmm. They're telling you now that Roe v. Wade's not going anywhere. Unfortunately, it's law in America. Yeah. And the Supreme Court is not going to visit that case again. It simply isn't going to happen. There would have to be another case. There will be people who will try, and the Supreme Court, they're just simply not going to. But the left is going to tell you that they are, and that's how they're scaring people. It's disgraceful what's happened to the Democrat Party in this country. I know a lot of good Democrats of the Zell Miller or the Blue Dogs or the Reagan Democrats. The party left them years ago. This is a socialist machine that is working towards Marxism, and believe me, they're not going to stop. So I ask listeners, I'll ask my listeners, I'll ask your listeners, do you think that the unhinged left is just all of a sudden going to wake up one day and no longer be unhinged and just going to rehinge themselves? No. Yeah. What happened here is, Skip, the laws of physics tell us that they are going to eventually have to act on what they're talking about. They can't not do it. Or they're open-ended. They're going to eventually have to blow. Look, physics, again, tells us that when the balloon takes so much helium, it's going to pop. It's impossible not to. So I'm very concerned about what we're seeing in politics today between really after the midterm. I believe Republicans pick up seats in the House. Boy, wouldn't that be something, right?
Really?
Because all the media is telling us, we're down 20-30, Democrats are going to pick this. They're trying to get you to not go to the polls. So I'm not convinced that's going to happen yet. I'll know a little bit more as we get closer. I want to see some individual polling done from people that I trust. But nonetheless, imagine if the Democrats don't retake the House. Okay. What's going to happen to Rosie O'Donnell then? And what's going to happen to Jimmy Kimmel then? What's going to happen to the Democrats? Now they realize, holy crap, we're stuck with Trump for 2 years. We're never going to get rid of him. Yeah. Okay? That's very dangerous. That's very volatile 2 years between 18 and 20 for the next election. Yeah. It's going to be very stressful times in America. Now let's assume that they do take the House. What do you think is going to happen then? Now there's a possibility they're going to try to craft and create an impeachment of Donald Trump. But remember, the Senate is more than likely going to pick up 7-8 Republican seats. Even if it broke even and stayed where it's at, the Republicans still control the Senate. You're not going to get 2/3 in the Senate to convict Donald Trump. Impeachment's off the table, and they know it. So we're entering a very, very dangerous, I can't remember in my lifetime, a time where politics in America was so dangerous. Yeah. And, I mean, people will say that, well, you go back to the 60s, it was just as volatile, maybe more so. I would say to those people, no, it wasn't. Because at that time, we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have Twitter. Yeah. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have instant communication. We had 3 channels, ABC, NBC, CBS, and you watched them at 6:30 for the news. You did not get instant gratification. Kids weren't buried with their faces and phones all day long. So, no, it wasn't that dangerous back then. Imagine if we could form the mobs back then with the technology that we have today, then I would argue that maybe that was the case.
Yeah.
But you couldn't. Today you can. And there's violence we've seen on the left, Antifa and the rest looking for trouble, and seemingly the Democrats and the media giving them a pass. So this is a very dangerous time in this country. Very dangerous.
Yeah, Mark, I certainly agree with you. Mark, do you think it's fair to say that the far left, they're kind of like a wounded animal, and that they're more dangerous now than they ever have been because of that?
I absolutely believe that. Yeah, they just cannot believe that Donald Trump is president, and they're doing everything they can to bring this man down. And listen, don't think for 2 seconds that they might not succeed. Mm-hmm. They might. And if they were capable of succeeding, or if they did succeed, I shudder to think what will happen in this country. You've got millions of Americans who are not going to stand idly by and allow the results of an election to be overturned because of a bunch of radicals and Hollywood. So it remains, I guess my advice to them is calm down. We have elections in this country every 4 years. We put up with Obama for 8 years, and we never acted like you did.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Calm down. And be very careful, or you might get what you wish for. Yeah. And that won't be pretty.
Well, the thing is, we put up with Obama for 8 years, and most of us, are gun owners. But we didn't get out there on the streets. We didn't beat people up. We didn't do any of the things that they are doing now. So, yeah.
We're busy and have jobs.
That's right. We're raising families. We're about out of time here for this segment. But you promised us an awesome recipe. So go ahead, lay it on the listeners.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
All right. This recipe requires Texas barbecue rub. So I'm going to send you to texasbbqrub.com. I have searched high and low. This is the holy grail of barbecue rub. You can trust me when I tell you this. Many, many fans across the country have written me to thank me for turning them on to this. But this is Texas, Texas, bbqrub.com. Original or Grand Champion rub is the one that you want for this.
Okay.
What this is a smoked meatloaf that I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got neighbors that you don't like, they're going to come over. So be prepared when they smell this stuff cooking. Here's what you're going to need. 3 pounds of your favorite ground beef. I use 80-20 beef chuck. A half a medium onion, mince it. A half a medium bell pepper, mince it. 1 small jalapeno, I up that to 2 or 3 fresh.
Oh yeah.
Mince it.
Yeah.
You can't put too many in. Put 2 or 3. 6 eggs. 1.5 stacks of Ritz crackers. 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I use the Parmesan Romano cheese mixture. Mm-hmm. 1/3 cup of Texas barbecue rub. 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. A half a cup of your favorite barbecue sauce. I use, which one is Sweet Baby Ray's. Regular Sweet Baby Ray's. Not the flavored one, just regular Sweet Baby Ray's right off the shelf. The stuff is dynamite. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all of those ingredients. You're going to combine them all in a big bowl. You're going to put that in a tin tray, and you're going to – now, one thing that's a little confusing, when I said the barbecue sauce, you want a cup of barbecue sauce. You want half of it to go in the mixture and then half of it to go over the top of it before you take it off the smoker. Mix it up into a big loaf, put it in a tin tray, stick that on the smoker at 225 degrees until it hits 175 degrees. When it does, go ahead and put that other half a cup of barbecue sauce on top of that. Put it back in the smoker for about 20 minutes, let it caramelize. You can pull it off at 165 if you want to, and then put the sauce on top and pull it off at 175. I'm telling you, man, oh man, oh man, the smoked meatloaf is unbelievable. Here's what you want to use. Definitely want to use coals. If you're going to do it on a Weber Smoky Mountain or something like that, it's a water pan. You want to put hickory wood in it, apple or cherry wood. Okay. If you're doing it on a Weber kettle, coals off to one side, apple wood or cherry wood or hickory chunks, not the little chips, but the chunks that you buy at Home Depot. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and throw those on and get some good wood smoke penetration into that thing. And I'm telling you, the smoked meatloaf, the Texas barbecue rub smoked meatloaf will blow your mind. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think of it. Mark at armedamericanradio.org.
All right. That sounds fantastic. I love meatloaf. Now, one detailed question here. When you mix up all those ingredients, when I do my meatloaf, I just dive my hands in there and squish it all together. Is that like a faux pas, or am I doing it right?
No, you're doing it absolutely correct. I use a pair of gloves, and I've got some cooking gloves that I use, the vinyl, with not the powder coated. Never use the powder coated, but the vinyl gloves. I go in there and just go, elbow deep in that thing. Now, what I'll do is I'll triple this or quadruple this because I'll put it on the big Lang smoker out there, and I'll put 8 trays or 9 trays out there and cook it for the neighborhood. It is just off the chain of a neighborhood favorite. But yeah, just go elbow deep in there and get it all mixed up in there. Just go ahead and get it all going in there until it's completely mixed together. Throw it in the tray. Here's a little tip for you. Take a knife, and before you put the meat in the tray, take a knife from the inside of the tinfoil tray and just poke about 2 or 3 holes on all 4 sides of the tray. That will allow some of the grease mixture to drip out while it's cooking so that it doesn't fill up in the pan. It'll just kind of reduce some of that.
Well, it sounds like if someone were to cook this, like maybe once a week, their property values would actually go up.
Yes.
Because people would want to move there.
Agree. People want to come. I'm telling you right now, if you've got an ex-wife that lives nearby, you might not want to cook this stuff if you don't want her coming over to the house.
Okay. Well,
this stuff is that good. Your enemies will become your friends. They're going to love you. It is extremely good. And this is what I learned how to cook this with the Texas barbecue rub. I cooked with the championship team at the 4th World Series of Barbecue at the Houston Rodeo for the cook-off. 427 teams. And while we came in 8th out of 427 teams in our brisket,
wow,
this was what the team was cooking and eating in the background was this. And that's what the teams were making for themselves back there, and that's what we were cooking, and that's why I got the recipe, and it is absolutely wonderful. It is but it requires the Texas barbecue rub. You cannot shortchange it. If you don't put it in, it's going to destroy the flavor profile, I can promise.
All right, TexasBBQRub.com. Oh,
that's it.
Mark, we are out of time, but thank you so very much for being on the Home Defense Show.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Skip. Let's do it more often, my friend.
You've got it. Okay, folks, we got a 2-minute break. While we are away, go ahead and check out TexasBBQRub.com and then go to ArmedAmericanRadio.com and check out Mark Walters as well. When we come back, we'll have the lowdown on what I really think about gas versus coals. This is Skip Coriel on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome to my dad's Home Defense Radio show. You're gonna love it.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coriel Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coriel.
This is Colonel Danny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coriel, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
This is Skip Coriel from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us.
Skip, it's time for our Armed America Report. What do you have?
All of us here at Frontlines of Freedom want our listeners to get trained and get armed in that order. We fully support the right of the people to keep and bear arms for all law-abiding families, and we encourage you to find out about the laws governing use of deadly force in your state and follow them to the letter. And of course, don't forget to follow the rules of safety and common sense whenever you're carrying a firearm to protect the ones you love. What's the story this week, Colonel?
Well, father-daughter bonding time came to an abrupt end during an assault in Memphis, Tennessee, but the would-be victim had a gun in his car and saved his child from further harm. The dad was carrying his infant out of a fast food restaurant to his vehicle after lunch. Along the way, 4 men attacked him, despite the fact that he had a child in his arms. During the scuffle, the father dropped the baby. At one point, someone in the gang had the young father in a chokehold, according to reports to a 911 dispatcher. The dad reached his car, retrieved a handgun, and shot one of the culprits. The troublemakers fled in a car, driving to a nearby fire station to get help for the wounded party. The injured man was taken to a hospital for medical care, and all 4 aggressors have since been charged.
Thanks, Colonel. After being attacked by 4 men, this young father-daughter combo are lucky to be alive. People need to realize that most attacks are extremely sudden and incredibly violent. We're talking about an ambush situation where the bad guys will almost always have the element of surprise. And in a situation like this, I can't think of anything more frightening than having to fight for the life of your young child against 4 attackers. But even though this father was ambushed and outnumbered, there is one advantage he possessed that these attackers had not anticipated. This man was fighting for his daughter. And that alone can give a man more determination and drive and strength than he's ever had in his entire life. When I think of someone trying to hurt my family, my warrior mentality goes into hyperdrive. It's kind of like Braveheart on steroids. At that point in time, even though the odds are against you, your mind becomes incredibly focused on the task at hand, and that is to protect the ones you love. Your attackers don't have that edge. All they have is rage, hatred, selfishness, or the need for their next drug fix. But the love of a dedicated and trained parent goes way beyond anything selfish, because the love of a mother or father will always trump the selfish rage of a stranger. There is, however, one thing this parent could have done to better protect his child. His firearm was not readily accessible to him when he needed it the most. The gun in your car only helps you when you are inside your car. This father had to fight his way to his gun before he could save his daughter's life. But if the gun had been in his holster where it belonged, this whole episode could have been over within 3 seconds without having to drop the baby. Aside from that, this young father did a great job fighting off his attackers and Front Lines of Freedom gives him a hearty military salute.
And he well deserves it.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is segment 4, the wrap-up. Mark Walters, Armed American Radio. Man, I just love that guy. Grilling while armed. Grilling, barbecuing, whatever the heck you call it. It sure does taste good. You know, I got done with that last segment, and I walked away from the microphone totally famished. And I had to eat something, so I went inside the house. I got out my cast iron wok, and I whipped up a batch of pork hock Bengali curry. I know, it's not barbecue, but it's the best I could do at the last minute. And I confessed to Father Mark Walters that I grill with gas. So, hey, a confession isn't enough. True confession is always followed by real-life change. So I have to go ahead and buy a charcoal grill and smoker. I know that'll make Mark happy. That'll make my son in St. Louis happy. But I'm not going to start out with the big Lang choo-choo train grill or barbecuer, I guess, smoker, whatever you call it, that Mark Walters has. I went on his site, his Facebook page called Grilling While Armed. Just go to facebook.com and then search on Grilling While Armed, and you'll see it's quite a site there. Lots of good pictures there, good advice on barbecuing, smoking, grilling. There's a picture of his Lang smoker there. It's huge. It's like the size of my car. But I'm not spending $3,400 on a smoker, at least not right away. Think of all of the AR-15s and pistols I could buy with that. But important safety tip for you future Darwin Award recipients, of which I hope none of you are listening. Warning, when you are grilling while armed, keep your gun away from open flame and high temperatures. Just take my word for that. You won't like it. Well, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time in this segment. It seems like every time I have Mark Walters on the show, segments 2 and 3 go long. Now, I'm not complaining. He says good stuff, great insight, and I love it when I have Mark on. He makes me laugh, and he gives us all very good information. Just remember, you heard it here first. Brett Cavanaugh will be confirmed. The Republicans will hold the House. And unicorns will fall down from the sky, and we can ride them with our 6-shooters and our Henry lever-action rifles. I just made that last part up. But it's a nice thought. I've never ridden a unicorn before. I'm working on some good stuff for next week. I'm trying to set up a deal with John Correa from Active Self-Protection and with Terry Johnson, attorney from Firearms Legal Protection. And I'd like to go over some different tactical scenarios, life or death situations, where we can get a tactical analysis from John Correa and then the legal analysis from attorney Terry Johnson. I hope to have that for you next week, but as always, everything depends on scheduling. You know, who's busy, who is not, can we firm it up? But I'll do my best for that. While you're away this week, make sure you check out Facebook.com, Grilling While Armed. Go to armedamericanradio.org. Check out Mark Walters and his show. And the TexasBBQRub.com. Check that out. Then go to Amazon.com. Check out Mark Walters' book, Lessons from Armed America, and then Lessons from Unarmed America. Both are really good reads. While you're on Amazon, hey, check out the God Virus series, The God Virus, The Shadow Militia, and The Saracen Tide, and then pick up a copy of Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry book by yours truly, Skip Coryell. I'm still working very hard on The Blind Man's Rage. I'm on page 130. As of yesterday, I'm working hard on that. Boy, I want to have that released and for sale by the opening day of bow season, October 1, for those of you who don't know nothing. Also, check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical, and then also go to elitefirearms.us. Okay, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's episode of the Home Defense Show. Until next week, remember your purpose in life is to find something greater than yourself and serve it. Always remember, God, family, country, in that order. It's important how you live, but it's equally important how you die. Your family and the ones you love need your protection, so train, always train, stay alert, stay alive. Until next week on the Home Defense Show, this is your host, Skip Coryell. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best in home defense.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!